Ladies and gentlemen, we are living in a world filled with shadows, unseen forces that influence the lives of countless souls. Every day, decisions are made, paths are chosen, and destinies are written. Some choices lead to light, hope, and life, but others lead down a darker road. There are forces in this world that seek to deceive, destroy, and derail your calling, and it's critical we recognize them before it's too late. Not every face that smiles at you is a friend. Not every hand that reaches out is there to lift you up. Some are sent to harm, to divide, and to steal the very life from your spirit. Let me tell you about Sarah. She was a young woman with dreams as big as the sky. Full of energy, she loved everyone she met, always willing to help, always quick to trust. One day she met someone who seemed charming, kind, and understanding, a person who spoke all the right words, someone who seemed to have the wisdom of a lifetime. This new friend slowly became her guide. At first it was harmless advice, little suggestions on how to make her life better. But it didn't take long for those suggestions to become control, for that kindness to turn into manipulation. Her confidence was drained. Her relationships with family and friends became strained. That spark of life in her eyes grew dim. Sarah began to feel trapped in a web of confusion and fear, and when she finally found the strength to break free, she realized she had been caught in the grasp of something far darker than she ever imagined. A force that came not to love, but to consume her from the inside out. Ladies and gentlemen, the truth is that we all have a Sarah in our lives. Or maybe, at times, we've even been Sarah ourselves. What happened to her isn't a rare event. It happens more often than we realize. There are forces in this world, people even, that appear normal, but behind their smiles something sinister stirs. They are like wolves dressed as sheep, blending in, waiting for the right moment to strike. We cannot afford to live unaware. We must be vigilant, discerning, and wise. There are signs clear as day if you know what to look for. Sometimes it's in their words, sometimes it's in their actions, and other times it's simply the atmosphere they bring into the room. These individuals are not just difficult people. They carry a darkness with them, a darkness that infects everything they touch. They sow seeds of discord in relationships, subtly stirring envy and resentment where there was once harmony. You'll notice them most when everything around you begins to feel heavy, when joy fades, when hope feels distant, and when peace is replaced with constant turmoil. They feed on your insecurity, your doubt, and your fear, twisting the truth until you begin to question everything you once knew to be good and right. They speak in half-truths, blending lies with just enough truth to sound believable. They thrive in confusion because where confusion reigns, trust is shattered. They position themselves as the solution to your problems, but instead of guiding you to freedom, they lead you deeper into captivity. They isolate you, pulling you away from the people who love you most, convincing you that no one else understands you but them. Pay attention, my friends, to how they respond when you confront them with the truth. A humble soul accepts correction with grace, but a deceitful heart becomes defensive, turning the blame on others. They avoid accountability at all costs, spinning stories that twist reality until you begin to doubt your own perception. Their words might be sweet, but their presence leaves you drained. Their actions often lack consistency. They promise the world but deliver heartache. They're masters of disguise, experts at hiding their true nature behind charm and charisma. You might feel an inexplicable sense of discomfort around them, a heaviness that defies explanation, a gut instinct telling you something isn't right. Ladies and gentlemen, the battle between light and darkness isn't something that exists only in fairy tales. It's here, right now, in the fabric of our everyday lives. These individuals, these deceivers, don't just want to wound you. Their goal is destruction, and if you don't recognize them, you'll fall into their trap before you even realize what's happened. But here's the good news. You don't have to live in fear. You have the power to see through the lies. You have the strength to stand in truth and light. It begins with awareness. It begins with opening your eyes to the signs that are right in front of you. There's a saying that darkness cannot exist where there is light. The same is true in our lives. When you walk in truth, deception cannot take root. When you surround yourself with genuine love, there is no space for manipulation to thrive. When you stand firm in your identity and refuse to be swayed by the opinions of others, no voice of deceit can control you. So, what are these signs? How can you know when someone is not who they appear to be? How can you discern whether someone is sent to build you up or tear you down? The answers are clear if you're willing to see them. Look closely at the patterns. Look at the fruit of their lives. Watch how they treat others, especially when no one is watching. The truth is always revealed in time, but if you're paying attention, you'll see it much sooner. They cannot hide forever. Their true nature will always surface in moments of crisis, in moments when they're caught off guard. And when it does, you'll realize it was there all along. The warning signs, the red flags, the gut feelings you ignored because it seemed too far-fetched to be true. Listen to that still, small voice inside you. Trust the discernment you've been given. It's there to protect you, to guide you, and to help you distinguish between what is good and what is harmful. Don't be swayed by appearances. Don't be fooled by eloquent words or impressive titles. Look deeper. Peel back the layers until you see what's beneath the surface. There will be moments when you second-guess yourself, moments when you'll wonder if you're being too harsh, too judgmental. But let me tell you this, wisdom is not the same as judgment. Discernment is not the same as suspicion. It is a gift, a shield that keeps you safe from harm. And if you find yourself in the presence of someone who stirs confusion, fear, and heaviness in your spirit, take a step back. Examine their motives. Watch how they react when things don't go their way. Ask yourself if their presence brings peace or chaos, healing or harm. You'll know them by their fruits. The evidence of who they truly are will always manifest in time. And when you recognize it, when you see them for what they are, do not stay in the shadows. Do not let fear hold you back. Stand in the light. Walk away if you must. Remove yourself from their grasp and don't look back. No one has the right to control your life, your joy, or your destiny. You were created to live in freedom, not in chains. You were made to walk in light, not to be bound by darkness. Recognizing these individuals isn't about living in paranoia. It's about walking in truth. It's about refusing to settle for anything less than the fullness of life that was meant for you. There will always be challenges, always be trials, but with each trial, you grow stronger. With each challenge, you become more resilient. You learn to recognize the false for what it is, and you cling to what is real, what is pure, what is true. The light is stronger than the darkness. Truth is stronger than deception. And love, real, genuine love, will always outlast the schemes of those who come to destroy. Keep your heart open, but guard it with wisdom. Trust freely, but discern wisely. And never, ever forget that you were made for something far greater than the shadows that seek to consume you. When you think about deception, it rarely announces itself with flashing lights or loud warnings. It creeps in slowly, often unnoticed, slipping through the cracks when your guard is down. These forces, these people who bring darkness and confusion, don't come with horns and red flags. They come dressed in smiles, in comforting words, in promises that seem too good to be true. And often we miss the signs because we're too trusting, too eager to believe the best in everyone. But the truth is, if you pay close enough attention, the warning signs are always there. They reveal themselves in patterns of behavior, in subtle actions that tell a story far different from their words. It begins small, almost imperceptible. At first, it might just feel like something's off, an uneasy feeling that you can't quite put your finger on. You tell yourself you're overreacting, that it's nothing. But it isn't nothing. It's your spirit sensing something that your mind hasn't yet processed. That heaviness you feel around them, that tension that seems to follow every conversation, is a sign. They bring with them an atmosphere of confusion and unrest, a darkness that clouds what should be clear. Watch how they speak. Pay attention to the way they weave their words. Deceptive people rarely lie outright. They're far too clever for that. Instead, they twist the truth, blending lies with just enough fact to make them believable. They're masters of manipulation, planting seeds of doubt in your mind until you begin to question your own reality. One moment you feel certain of something, and the next, after just a few carefully placed words, you find yourself second-guessing everything you thought you knew. Their words are like poison wrapped in honey. They seem sweet at first, comforting even, but the more you consume them, the more they start to infect your heart and mind. They'll tell you what you want to hear, but there's always an agenda behind their kindness. Watch for the moments when their words don't match their actions. They may speak of love and loyalty, but their behavior tells a different story, one of selfishness, control, and deceit. It's not just in their words, though. It's in their actions, or more often, in their lack of action. Promises made but never kept. Commitments that always seem to fall through. They paint beautiful pictures with their words, but when it comes time to follow through, they always have an excuse. Something always comes up. The timing's never quite right. And yet, somehow you find yourself giving them the benefit of the doubt again and again, convinced that this time will be different. But it never is. Look at how they treat others, especially those who can do nothing for them. Do they show kindness to the forgotten, the overlooked, the ones without power or influence? Or do they reserve their charm only for those they can use? The way they treat the least among us will tell you far more about their character than anything they say. A truly good heart does not discriminate in its kindness, but a deceitful one will always reveal its true nature in moments when it thinks no one is watching. Isolation is another sign, and it's one of the most dangerous. They'll begin to pull you away from the people who care about you, often in ways so subtle you don't even realize it's happening. At first it might seem innocent, suggestions that you spend more time with them, less time with others. Slowly, they begin to plant seeds of doubt about your friends and family, suggesting that those closest to you don't really understand you, that they don't have your best interests at heart. They thrive in isolation because when you're alone, you're easier to control. Without the voices of those who truly love you, it becomes much harder to see the truth, and that's exactly what they want. They want you to rely on them and only them. They position themselves as your sole source of comfort and guidance, not out of love, but out of a desire for control. If you confront them, watch how they react. A humble person Someone with a genuine heart will listen. They may feel hurt, but they'll accept correction with grace and humility. But a deceptive person, they'll turn the tables on you so fast, it'll make your head spin. Suddenly, you're the one at fault. You're the one who's misunderstood, who's being unreasonable. They'll twist your words, distort the truth, and leave you feeling like you're the one who needs to apologize. They cannot bear the light of truth, and so they will do everything in their power to avoid it. They'll distract, deflect, and deny until you're so confused that you begin to doubt your own perception. This is one of the most dangerous tactics they use, because once you start doubting yourself, they have you exactly where they want you. Another sign is the way they create division. These individuals are not peacemakers. They stir up strife wherever they go, planting seeds of discord and watching them grow. Pay attention to what happens to relationships when they're involved. Do they bring people together, or do they drive wedges between friends and family? Do they encourage reconciliation, or do they fan the flames of conflict? They feed off chaos because it keeps you off balance. As long as you're caught up in drama and conflict, you're too distracted to see the truth. They'll pit people against each other, creating confusion and division until you're not even sure who you can trust anymore. And through it all, they position themselves as the only one you can rely on, the only one who truly understands you. Their charm can be disarming. They know how to read people, how to adapt their behavior to fit exactly what you need in the moment. They can be funny, empathetic, even inspiring. But it's all an act, a carefully crafted mask designed to hide their true intentions. And the moment you stop serving their purpose, that charm disappears. You'll see a side of them you never imagined. A coldness, an indifference, even cruelty. Perhaps one of the most telling signs is the way they drain you emotionally. Spending time with them doesn't leave you feeling uplifted or encouraged. It leaves you feeling exhausted, weighed down by a heaviness that you can't quite shake. It's as if they're siphoning your energy, leaving you weaker while they grow stronger. Your joy begins to fade. The things that once brought you happiness feel distant and unattainable. Your mind becomes a battlefield filled with doubt, fear, and confusion. And the longer you stay in their orbit, the harder it becomes to see the light. But there's always a way out. The first step is recognizing the patterns. Once you see them for what they are, their power begins to fade. Their web of lies and manipulation only holds as long as you're blind to it. The moment the truth comes into focus, the chains start to break. Trust that still, small voice inside you, the one that whispers when something's not right. It's there to protect you. Don't ignore it, no matter how convincing their words may be. Discernment is a gift, a shield that can protect you from harm if you're willing to listen to it. Be patient. Deceitful people can only maintain their facade for so long. In moments of crisis or when they're caught off guard, their true nature will always come to the surface. Pay attention to those moments. They'll reveal far more than any carefully rehearsed speech ever could. Remember, the truth is always consistent. It doesn't change to fit the situation or to protect someone's image. When someone's story keeps shifting, when their explanations don't quite add up, that's a sign. Trust what you see, not just what you hear. You'll know them by their fruits, the results of their actions. A life built on truth and love bears fruit that is good, fruit that brings life and healing. But a life built on deception and control produces fruit that is rotten, fruit that brings pain and destruction. Don't be afraid to walk away when you see these signs. Don't let fear hold you back. It's not your job to fix or change someone who refuses to see the truth. Your first responsibility is to protect your heart, your mind, and your spirit. You were made to walk in light, not to be trapped in shadows. You were created for peace, for joy, for freedom. Trust the signs, trust your discernment, and know that you have the strength to break free from anything or anyone that seeks to steal the life you were meant to live. There is something so powerful, so life-altering about the truth. It doesn't need to shout to be heard. It doesn't demand attention or force its way into our hearts. It simply exists. Calm, steady, unchanging, like the light breaking through the darkness at dawn. And that's what truth is. Light. It illuminates the hidden corners of our lives, places we didn't even realize were cloaked in shadows. It brings clarity where there was once confusion, hope where there was captivity. But just like light, truth can also be uncomfortable. It reveals what we've been trying to avoid. It exposes lies we believed and forces us to confront realities we'd rather ignore. Yet in the end, truth is always worth it because it's the only thing that can set us free. You see, darkness thrives on deception. It grows stronger in silence, in secrecy, in hidden places. It feeds on the things we refuse to face, the lies we tell ourselves, the fears we bury deep inside, the wounds we cover up with a smile. But the moment we let truth in, the darkness starts to lose its grip. The lies begin to unravel. The fears that once seemed so overwhelming suddenly seem smaller, less threatening. The things that once controlled us no longer have the same power. There's a story of a woman who lived in darkness for far too long. She was trapped in a web of lies. Lies about who she was, about what she deserved, about what her future could be. She believed she wasn't good enough, that she would never be loved, that her mistakes defined her. These lies shaped her life, influencing every decision she made, every relationship she entered. They kept her small, afraid, and ashamed. For years, she carried this weight, thinking it was just her burden to bear. But one day, something changed. It wasn't dramatic. There were no flashing lights or grand revelations. It was a quiet moment, a whisper in her heart that said, "There's more for you than this." At first, she ignored it. She wasn't used to hearing that kind of voice. But the whisper grew stronger, more insistent. Slowly, she started to listen. She began to question the lies she had believed for so long. She started to see glimpses of the truth, that she was worthy, that she was loved, that her past didn't define her. It wasn't easy. Truth can be a painful thing, especially when it challenges the beliefs we've built our lives around. But she kept moving toward it, step by step, letting the light in a little more each day. And as she did, something miraculous happened. The darkness began to lift. The lies lost their power. She started to see herself and her life through new eyes. This is what truth does. It heals. It restores. It brings freedom. It doesn't erase the past, but it redeems it. It takes the broken pieces of our lives and turns them into something beautiful. And once you've experienced that kind of freedom, once you've felt the weight of those lies fall away, you'll never settle for anything less. But the journey to truth isn't always easy. There will be resistance, both from within and from those around you. Not everyone wants to see the truth because it can be uncomfortable. It can disrupt the status quo, challenge long-held beliefs, and force people to confront things they'd rather ignore. Some will try to silence you, to pull you back into the darkness, because your light makes them uncomfortable. But don't let that stop you. Keep shining. Keep speaking the truth, even when it's hard. There's a reason darkness fears the light. It's because light has the power to change everything. Think about a room that's been dark for years. dust and cobwebs in every corner, broken things hidden in the shadows. The moment you turn on the light, everything becomes visible. You can see the mess, yes, but you can also start to clean it up. You can fix what's broken, clear out what no longer belongs, and create space for something new. That's what truth does in our lives. It shows us what needs to change, but it also gives us the power to change it. It reveals what's been holding us back, but it also gives us the strength to break free. It's not just about seeing the light. It's about stepping into it, letting it transform every part of who we are. The most powerful thing about truth is that it's unshakable. Lies are fragile, easily broken when exposed to the light. They may seem strong at first, but they're always built on unstable ground. Truth, on the other hand, is a rock. It stands firm no matter what. Storms may come, doubts may arise, but truth doesn't waver. It remains constant, a foundation you can build your life on. There will be times when the truth feels far away, when the darkness seems overwhelming. In those moments, remember this: even the smallest light can pierce the deepest darkness. A single candle can illuminate an entire room. And sometimes, all it takes is one small step toward the truth to change everything. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to figure it all out at once. Just take one step at a time. Trust the light you have, and it will lead you to more. Trust the truth you know, and it will reveal even greater truth. And here's the beautiful thing. When you walk in truth, you don't just find freedom for yourself, you become a light for others. Your story, your journey, your courage to step into the light becomes a beacon for those still trapped in darkness. You show them what's possible. You give them hope. It's not about being perfect. It's not about having it all together. It's about being real, being honest, being willing to confront the lies and let the truth change you. And when you do that, you'll find a strength you never knew you had. You'll discover a freedom that's deeper and more lasting than anything the world can offer. The world is full of voices competing for our attention. Some are loud and demanding, promising quick fixes and easy solutions. Others are more subtle, whispering half-truths that sound good but leave us empty. But the voice of truth is different. It's steady, unwavering, and filled with love. It doesn't just tell us what we want to hear. It tells us what we need to hear. It calls us higher, challenges us to be more, and reminds us of who we really are. There will be moments when you'll be tempted to go back to the darkness. It's familiar after all. Sometimes it can feel safer to stay in the shadows than to step into the unknown. But remember this: you were made for the light. You were created to walk in truth, to live in freedom, to shine with a brilliance that no darkness can overcome. Let the light in. Let the truth transform you. It won't always be easy, but it will always be worth it. The lies may try to pull you back. The darkness may try to convince you that it's too late, that you've gone too far, that the light isn't for you. But don't believe it. The light is always there, waiting for you to turn toward it. And when you do, when you finally step into the fullness of who you were created to be, you'll realize that the light was there all along, calling you home, waiting to set you free. The power of truth is something so profound, so transformative, that once you experience it, you will never see the world the same way again. It isn't flashy. It isn't loud, but it's unrelenting. Truth stands firm in the face of deception, cutting through confusion and bringing clarity where there was once only uncertainty. It illuminates the darkest corners of our lives, revealing things hidden, unspoken, and unresolved. It calls us higher and pulls us out of places we were never meant to stay. The truth can be uncomfortable at first, even painful, but it's always worth it because it's the only thing that can truly set us free. Deception grows in the shadows. Lies thrive in places where they're never challenged, where they go unexamined and unchecked. They disguise themselves as harmless thoughts or convenient explanations, lulling us into a false sense of security. But the longer you allow deception to linger, the more it takes root in your life, wrapping itself around your heart and mind until it feels almost impossible to break free. That's the nature of lies. They become a prison, a trap that keeps you bound. But the power of truth is like a key that unlocks that prison and lets the light pour in. Light changes everything. It doesn't need permission. It doesn't wait for you to be ready. The moment light enters a dark space, the darkness disappears. You don't have to fight it or push it away. It flees the second the light appears. And that's what truth does in our hearts and minds. The lies that once seemed so overwhelming and powerful begin to lose their grip. The fears that kept us paralyzed start to fade. The doubts that clouded our judgment suddenly seem less significant. The truth doesn't just expose the darkness, it replaces it with something far greater: hope, clarity, and freedom. But stepping into the light isn't always easy. In fact, it can be one of the hardest things you'll ever do. The lies we believe often feel safer, more comfortable. They offer temporary comfort and tell us what we want to hear, even if it's not what we need. The truth, on the other hand, can be challenging. It confronts us with realities we've tried to avoid. It forces us to face the things we'd rather keep hidden. But it also offers us a way out, a way forward. There was once a man who lived his entire life in a world of half-truths and illusions. He surrounded himself with people who told him what he wanted to hear, who reinforced the image he had created for himself. He ignored the quiet voice inside him that whispered, "There's something more. There's something better." For years he lived in that illusion, convincing himself that he was happy, that he was free. But deep down, he knew something was missing. He felt it in the quiet moments, when the noise of the world faded and he was left alone with his thoughts. One day, the truth caught up with him. It wasn't a dramatic event, just a simple conversation with someone who cared enough to speak the truth in love. At first, he resisted. The truth felt like an attack, a threat to everything he had built. But as he listened, something began to shift. The walls he had built around himself started to crack. The lies he had believed for so long began to unravel, and in their place, something new began to grow. Something real, something lasting. The truth didn't just change his mind, it changed his life. It freed him from the need to prove himself, from the endless striving to be something he was never meant to be. It gave him permission to let go of the image he had created and step into the fullness of who he really was. It wasn't easy, and it didn't happen overnight. But step by step, he walked out of the shadows and into the light. And with every step, he felt more alive, more free, more himself. That's the power of truth. It breaks chains we didn't even realize we were carrying. It sets us free from the lies that have held us back for so long. It restores what was lost and rebuilds what was broken. But it doesn't force its way into our lives. It waits for us to choose it, to open the door and let it in. And once you choose truth, once you step into the light, everything changes. You start to see the world through new eyes. The things that once seemed so important begin to fade away. The fears that once controlled you lose their power. You realize that the light was always there, waiting for you to see it, to step into it, to let it transform you. The beauty of truth is that it doesn't just change you, it changes the way you see everything and everyone around you. You begin to recognize the lies you once believed, not just in your own life, but in the world around you. You see the masks people wear, the illusions they cling to. But instead of judging them, you feel compassion. You remember what it was like to live in the darkness, to feel trapped and alone, and you want nothing more than to help them find the same freedom you've found. Truth is contagious. When you walk in truth, when you live in the light, it inspires others to do the same. Your life becomes a beacon, a testimony to the power of what's possible. People may not always understand it. They may resist it at first, just as you did, but eventually they'll be drawn to it because deep down, everyone is searching for the same thing: freedom, peace, purpose, and love. The light doesn't discriminate. It's for everyone. It doesn't matter where you've been, what you've done, or how long you've lived in the shadows. The moment you turn toward the light, it welcomes you with open arms. It doesn't condemn you for the time you've spent in darkness. It simply celebrates your decision to step into something better. And here's the beautiful thing: the light never leaves you. Once you've experienced it, once you've tasted the freedom that comes from living in truth, it becomes a part of you. It becomes your guiding star, your anchor in the storm. Even when life gets hard, even when the darkness tries to creep back in, you can always return to the light. You can always choose truth. Choosing truth isn't a one-time decision. It's a daily choice. Every day you'll be faced with opportunities to compromise, to take the easy way out, to believe the lies that promise comfort but deliver nothing but emptiness. But every day you also have the opportunity to choose something better, to choose honesty over deception, integrity over compromise, love over fear. And the more you choose truth, the easier it becomes. It becomes second nature, a way of life. The lies lose their appeal. The darkness loses its power. You start to recognize deception for what it is: a cheap imitation of something far greater. There will be moments when the truth feels costly, when it requires you to let go of something you've been holding on to tightly. There will be times when it feels like stepping into the light will cost you everything. But remember this: whatever the truth costs, it's always less than what the lies will eventually take from you. The lies promise you security, but they leave you vulnerable. They promise you happiness, but they leave you empty. They promise you freedom, but they leave you bound. The truth may cost you something in the short term, but it will always give you something far greater in return, something real, something lasting, something that can never be taken away. The truth is the foundation on which everything else is built. Without it, nothing can stand, but with it, you can withstand anything. The storms may come, the winds may blow, but the foundation of truth will hold firm. It will anchor you, protect you, and guide you through whatever life throws your way. No matter how far you've wandered, no matter how deep the darkness feels, the light is always there. The truth is always waiting. All you have to do is take the first step. Turn toward it. Open your heart to it. Let it in. And when you do, you'll wonder why you ever settled for anything less. Because once you've experienced the power of truth and the beauty of light, you'll never want to go back to the shadows again.